What's up, man? Patrick James here, and welcome to another episode of Raw Dating Advice. Now, in this episode, I want to react to a clip of Joe Rogan and Derek from the YouTube channel More Plates, More Dates, where they were talking about men and women and how they relate to each other in today's dating marketplace. And I thought it was interesting because when I was at the gym, I was kind of listening to this passively, and I thought that their perspective was vastly different than a lot of the opinions that you'll hear in the dating landscape today, especially if you come from one of those black pill, blue pill, white pill, brown pill, whatever fucking pills are out there these days. I thought it was intriguing and I wanted to get your take on this, so let's check out this clip.
You can kind of tell universally what's attractive on a woman from like a body composition aspect and features, but then for guys it's like so many fucking options and so many preferences that more guys are gonna have a chance than otherwise would with like a higher quality woman probably.
Well, guys have so many other weird things, right? Like a guy could be successful, that makes him more attractive.
Yeah.
A guy could be funny, that makes him more attractive.
Yeah, it's definitely good being a guy, for sure, because you got so many more things to play with from that aspect, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's like some statistic, it's like 5 to 10% of guys get like 90% of the girls or something, because it's just like all of the, like especially from an online dating aspect, it's just like disproportionately ridiculous in how successful a very small subset of guys is on the device, on the apps, versus women. They, from like, I don't know, 5 out of 10s all the way to 10 out of 10, a lot of them are like pretty much inundated with options still. Whereas guys, it's like only the top upper echelon have all the options and the rest get like fucking none.
All right, so I thought this was interesting because they almost contradicted themselves, or at least Derek did, because he said that guys tend to have an advantage because they have more ways that they can be attractive to women, which I thought was an intriguing way to think about it, because I tend to agree with that. From a dating expert perspective, a lot of times it really does come down to your ability to create the right emotions in a conversation with a girl, because women are so emotionally driven. So in that aspect, I would agree. However, he did contradict the sentiment that he was trying to make, because he also said the top 5% of guys get 90% of the girls, whereas if you're anywhere from a 6 to a 10 and looks as a woman, then you are still going to have a lot of options when it comes to online dating. The stats do back this up. In 2020, they showed that of all the Tinder users, 86% of them were all men. So I would agree with the fact that women have more options when it comes to guys being interested in them. However, as far as what it takes to become more attractive and improve on that, if you're a woman, it's pretty much set in stone on your body type and composition. Whereas guys, you can work on this and become more attractive over time, which I do think is a promising thing.
Yeah, that's like the concept of the incel, right? Remember when that one dude drove his car into a bunch of people and killed them because he was an incel?
Yeah, and there was
then it became a real concern.
I forget, Elliot Rogers, I think. I don't know if that was the guy. Maybe he shot people.
Elliot, that was his issue as well, that women wouldn't have sex with him. And
yeah.
he wasn't even an ugly guy.
Yeah, that's the weird thing is when you watch the videos, you could tell he was a psycho. Like the brain chemistry and just the fact that I bet he's never even tried like talking to chicks.
Right.
Like he probably just was at home like, where aren't it getting pussy? Like, why is it not handed to me on a silver platter?
Yeah.
And he was,
as a dating coach, I can say that I see this more often than I would like to. Too many guys have struggled for so long to where they start to become a victim of their own circumstance and they stop taking action to actually improve that. And so if you're the type of guy who wants to sit in your comfort zone and you don't want to actually go outside and put the effort forward to meet women, then obviously you're not going to get those types of results that you think you deserve, which can lead to a victim mindset. And so if that's you, if you feel like you're not getting results that you want in your dating life, but you're also not really doing anything that you've ever done before, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So yeah, dating is kind of interesting because yes, as a guy, you do have the ability to become more attractive, working on yourself, working on your game, working on your ability to be more comfortable in your own skin in social situations, whereas girls don't necessarily have that advantage the same way that guys do. It is kind of one of those things where you get out of it what you put into it, and if you're not putting much into it and you keep crying and whining and playing the victim, then yeah, obviously it's going to lead to a lot of frustration. And so don't be that guy.
That's really what the big complaint is when a woman sees like these unrealistic body types. That's
because they know their value is more so based on that than anything else.
I mean, it's unfair.
Yeah, I can't even imagine the like awareness of knowing how disproportionate my value is based on physical appearance and almost nothing else. Because like if I'm a guy seeking a high quality woman, like I don't really give a shit if she's like rich and successful. I don't
at all.
No, like
I would almost be nice.
I would prefer you are, you know, like a good cook and like can take care of shit and like help me achieve success in my endeavors and are like supportive rather than like I don't give a fuck if you're a breadwinner or not.
Yeah, that's a weird position because then people automatically assume that you're anti like having a strong woman in your life, and that's not necessarily the case.
No.
It's just it's not more attractive.
Yeah. Yeah, your value is not propped up as a woman really if you have like a, you know, all of these other things that guys can do to leverage. Yeah, which is like I can imagine would be quite frustrating for a woman who's, you know,
driven.
Yeah.
I completely agree with this. And I do think that some women, if they heard that, would probably get triggered. But I think they make a valid point where us guys, we're so linear thinking and we're so logically driven and we're so ambitious and we want to create, we want to make money and we want to make something of ourselves and set goals and achieve them to where we're not necessarily looking for a woman who's also doing the same things. We want a woman who is that emotional support because they are emotional creatures inherently. And so I don't think this is bad to play into a gender role, but ultimately I think it really comes down to your personal preference, right? If you're a guy who's out there and you're crushing it and you're working on your business and you're super ambitious, then you're probably not going to have as much time to dedicate towards building up a family life, maintaining the home, cooking and cleaning and all that stuff. And if you got into a relationship with a woman who was wanting to step into that role, then as a team, which is what a relationship ultimately is, you guys actually complement each other really well. Whereas two people who are super type A personalities, who are both super driven, both trying to make something of themselves, how well do you guys ultimately complement each other as a team? Sometimes you don't need to have two people who always want to have the ball in their hands, if you know what I'm saying.
It's like some women feel like as they're growing up that they have to prove themselves by gaining a commensurate amount of success. Like that this is a woman who could stand right up there with a man, but she's also hot. Mm-hmm. She's also attractive. Like, that's great. Like, but that first part, that just doesn't really... I mean, that doesn't excite a lot of men. I mean, some men are really into like really ambitious, really powerful women, I guess.
I think this is coming from the perspective of people who actually have real legitimate relationship experience, which I truly believe every dude out there, if you haven't yet, you should go out and play the field, because a guy who's never been in a relationship or a guy who's always struggled with getting friend zoned by the girls that you like, you have an idea of what you think you want in your head of like, on paper, I want a girl who fits these criteria. I want a girl who looks like this, has these types of things going on in her life. But until you experience what you don't want, you can't actually know what you really do want. I'll tell you what, when I was a 21-year-old virgin who was getting friend zoned by every girl, I had an idea in my head of, I want to be married by 28. I want to have 2.5 kids, a white picket fence, and I want a girl who looks like this, right? And so a lot of times a guy who's a little bit inexperienced, his criteria for a girlfriend or the perfect woman for him is going to be a lot based on looks. But as you saw here, a lot of times the best teammate for you to build up your mission and your vision and your life is not always going to just come down to her looks. If you can get a fucking smoking hot girl who also compliments you well, that's the dynamic duo right there. But if you're only going for the looks, then don't be surprised if she turns out to be a terrible life teammate for you as well.
Like if some chick is like has super high aspirations and wants to be like entrepreneurial and like start a business and do that, I'm almost like, oh, like how much time is this going to take? Yeah.
Well, that's what women are worried about. Mm-hmm. Women are worried about the idea that if you're not into strong women and then you want the woman to be subservient and you want the woman to be like, for you to be priority, your life to be a priority, and your success be a priority, and her to be almost like a, she's an accessory.
Yeah, it's not that I wouldn't want them to have their own aspirations and like goals and stuff. I would just think like if I have my path, I'm going to go down and, do certain things that I know are going to support me and, a family down the line. Like I don't necessarily, I would rather see you allocating time towards something that's, I don't know, like aligns with my vision of where I'm going. Cause it's like, if we have two different paths entrepreneurially, she's, like, I can't imagine you wouldn't drift apart in some capacity if you're like, she's full board on work, you're full board on work. Like, there's no like in the middle at all. I don't know.
I will completely agree with this also because obviously I'm a business owner. I run this YouTube channel. I have big goals for what I'm trying to accomplish for myself. I can tell you what, me and all my friends who also have similar types of businesses, a lot of times what you don't realize is our woman that we have beside us does play a big emotional support role for that business. And that's not masculine to admit. I would say guys who are afraid to admit that are just not living in reality. And that's not bad. That's not sexist, but that's just the reality of the situation. So I completely agree with that. Like Derek said, ultimately your two different visions of where you guys are wanting to go, at some point you will start drifting apart if one person's not willing to step into that role.
Yeah, but for a woman, if she invests a bunch of time in your success, and then you break up with her, she's like, fuck.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's what motivates these big divorce settlements. Like, he made all that money, sort of. She was helping him. Like, she was with him in the relationship. She assumed a sort of supportive wife position, and she took care of all these other aspects of their personal life while he worked hard. Because again, like, if you're a woman and you assume that sort of a traditional male-female marriage wife role, and you take care of the house while the guy's working, and then the guy goes, I'm done with this. And you're like, bitch, I just invested 15 fucking years in your stupid life.
Yeah.
Now you don't want me anymore? Fuck. Time to get a lawyer.
When I was listening to this, before I heard or even thought about this side of the argument, I always thought, fuck, like a girl trying to get half the net worth of a guy who built a business. But he really does make a good point here that a woman who really does step into that emotional support role, I mean, you could almost make an argument that that did play a major portion in that guy's ability to succeed. I think they make a valid point that not a lot of people talk about sometimes.
Yeah, there's definitely an argument to be made, like, although I think it's fucking insane to take half of somebody's shit, but like the amount of efficiency you gain out of a supportive partner who's taking like the tedious work off your plate.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like there definitely is a huge element of like your success being foundationally backed by like a good partner who's doing, even if on paper they're not doing something that's productive from like a money producing aspect.
Sure. And then there's also the emotional support, like knowing that you have someone who's rooting for you, who's in your corner. And then there's also like the amount of time that you save and not like going on dates and, you know, trying to find the one.
Trying to be single and like also do entrepreneurial stuff. Fucking impossible. It's a full-time job being single and dating.
Yeah, because if you're dating, first of all, and you meet a good one, she's going to want to spend a lot of time with you, right? She's like, he really likes me. We're going to go out again tonight. And like, oh my God, you're going out every night. And then you're going out 4 nights a week and you're going out to dinners and you leave the house at 7. You don't come home till 11. And you're tired when you go to the gym in the morning.
Yeah.
But you're really into it because you really like her, but it takes a lot of time. Whereas if you're married, you live in the same house. You come home. Like, it saves a lot of time. And, you know, also when you're working really hard, she doesn't think that you're ignoring her. She thinks you're working for the both of you if you know, have your funds together, tied in together.
Yeah.
It's complicated shit, though.
I agree and I disagree. I agree that if you're single and you really are going out, approaching women, meeting women, and then lining up dates throughout the week, yeah, it kind of is time consuming, but you have to work it into your schedule, right? Because ultimately, if you are awake for 18 hours of the day, you're not going to be working for 18 hours all day. Like, let's just be realistic here, even if you're in a relationship or you're single. So it's really about prioritizing your time. And ultimately, like, I know guys who had full-time jobs, but were also single and also in a relationship, you know, but they were able to incorporate it into their schedule. For example, you can combine your lunch break with, while I'm on my lunch break, I approach women at Whole Foods. I had a roommate who used to do that. It's not that he was wasting more time or had less time for work. He was just able to incorporate it into his schedule by being a little bit better with scheduling in those blocks of time and being more efficient with his time. But you have to also realize that if you're the type of guy who you're like, okay, well, being single is a full-time job, I want to focus on my business. Well, then you're also missing out on all the other aspects that they were literally just talking about: the emotional support, the taking care of the tedious tasks that really do take away from your business. It's trade-offs. You're going to have a personal life. Do you want your personal life to be alone and always worrying about your business, or do you want to be worried about your business but also have the emotional support of a woman who supports you on your path? But I think the biggest mistake here is playing the victim, shrinking back into your comfort zone, complaining that things are going your way when you're literally not doing anything different than you've ever done before. And how can you expect to get any better results if you always do the same fucking things?
Relationships are just like business partnerships or even friendships. Like some guy who would be great friends with another guy, you would think that guy's annoying as fuck. And you'd never want to hang out with him. Yeah. Whereas other people would be like, dude, fucking let's party. You're excited to see him. There's people for everybody in business, in relationships, and friendships. It's like, you got to know what you like. Know what you like and know who you are. And hopefully you get lucky and find someone that like fits with that.
So yeah, man, that was a very interesting look into how men and women relate to each other. And I'm curious to know, do you agree with me or Joe or even Derek from More Plates, More Dates? Or do you completely disagree with all of us? Let me know in the comments below. And hopefully you enjoyed this one. If you aren't already subscribed to the Raw Dating Advice family, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to check out my book, 107 Proven Ways to Get the Girl, you can grab your copy for free at howtogetthegirlnow.com. And I will see you in the next video. Peace out, man.